do some talking at first, and then I'm gonna show you some hands-on stuff as we go along. But I figured it's probably easier to do some presentation stuff at first. All right, let me know if it works for everybody. If you could just maybe give me an emoji in the chat so I can see. Yes, it is indeed moving. Right. Just waiting. Yes. Hey! People are sending emojis, so people are joining the stream. Amazing. So, if there's any questions or if I'm explaining something and you don't quite get to follow, there's two options. If you're not comfortable, you can wait until the end. I'm gonna have like some question and answer session then. Or if you have any questions, please just send them in the chat here, written, and then anyone will tell me if there's anything that I can answer right away, maybe. So yeah, please don't be shy. I don't bite. I'm just also joked about it. I am not one of these cosplayers who has this prestigious, clean workshop. I do have a workshop in my own home. I just, put the spare room to use for that, basically. And it is chaos. It is always chaos, but that's how my brain works, and that's completely fine. I'm a cosplayer. I'm for the people. Yeah. But yeah, all right. So. I did a little bit of structuring today because I have to do some talking first before we have to go and jump into the fun bits, which is, we're gonna discuss what is a good week, what kind of materials do you need, or what kind of materials do I use. So there's a mix between those things in the sense of some things you don't necessarily need, but they're like a nice to have thing. So we're gonna go over those as well. Then, cutting, teasing, sectioning, that's gonna be like a show and tell kind of thing on how to do that. How does that work in the first place? Then, hairspray, glue, and color, kind of what are the differences, which kind of glues do I use. I've tried out a lot, so I can go over which ones I like and which ones I don't and why. As well as, coloring techniques, because with quite easy techniques, you can get a lot of detail and stuff out of your wig, and you don't even need like an airbrush necessarily. I'm also going to go over that a little bit, but not much. And yeah. That's gonna be a little bit of the rundown. So, I'm gonna do an avatar thing to the next slide. Maybe that works. Hey, look at me go. Alright, so, we're gonna jump in very easily. I don't know where every one of you guys is from, so I will also ask you kindly, to this discussion right now, if you have information about certain stores, please feel free to share them. I can obviously only speak about the stores that I use, which is going to be ones who send to the Netherlands, which is a lot. So I will, I have to speak about those wigs that I know. If you have a specific store that delivers only in your country, that's great. Please share that information. All right, so we all know there is a lot of different wigs. You can get sometimes the wigs at the stores like Party City, like for the European, you get Carnival stuff. They're very cheap. Very, very shiny ones. I also have one. It is somewhere buried on the corner under there because I packed it out, packed it back in, never used it again, because the fibers are way too shiny. They're not heat resistant in the first place. They're terrible to work with, and the wig is very, very thin. You can see on the right side, I'm talking a lot about wefts. What I mean is obviously like these little wefts, the big wefts we have in, and your big important thing is before you even start a project, you look at the reference picture, and then you have to decide what kind of wig do you need. Because depending on the wig you need, you can, I say, save some money as well if you buy a wig that is according to your project. Like if you need, I have it here actually. If you want a long wig, like if you have, for example, we take for example Husband Hotel, where Lilith has a very, very long wig. You don't need the amount of wefts that you see on the side here, because it's a very, very long wig. It's going to be covering, and the more wefts you have, the thicker it is, which is, if that's your style, it's great, but it's not a necessity, kind of, to make that fit. Also, there we go. Right. If you want a lot of spikes, for example, if you have a Bakugo wig, it's a very good example, or in general, also get some of the Genshin wigs, specifically Child for me, because I like having a lot of spikes in these wigs. You need a lot of wefts. There's a whole thing, and you can order sometimes wigs from Doki Doki. I'm not a big fan of that per se. They're great for the longer wigs, they're easy, completely no worries with that, but with the shorter wigs, they are too thin. in the sense of when I make spikes, you see through the wefts, you see the hair underneath, and for example, if you have bright pink hair, you will see it shine through, so we're not the biggest fan of that. There's also a thing called helmet wigs. I'm gonna talk a little bit about them today, not too much. For example, my top wig is a helmet wig. I'm just trying to have, because that one is currently downstairs. With the top wig, it is like that. The front is from the first wig normal. I just made sure that, like, you know, the fringe area, like the front area here, I liked that part, so I just sectioned it off. And the back, it doesn't matter if it was long or short, or if there were many wefts or not many wefts, because everything was cut off and glued down anyways. To give you guys a little thing how that looks. So I'm having currently a work in progress here. Let's go off without a hinge currently. Wait. So sorry, that's very, very attractive currently probably. There you go. I'm gonna have to add here some wefts for a different color, like for an undercut. But you see, I don't really care how many like wefts there were, because they're glued down anyways, and I'm gonna put some batting on top of it and then put new wefts on top of it. So I don't really care how thick or thin that part is, in all honesty. So, you know, just choose your wig according to what you want. It also depends on what kind of style you have. I'm gonna go a bit into my styling today, which is I'm styling quite structured wigs. It means my wigs don't really move too much, in the sense of, I'm gonna grab this one again. Like this one is not, you know, it doesn't matter if you turn it around, like you can shake this. It's not changing the style. It's quite stiff. I can do a more natural looking style. I just, for me, realize, especially when I travel and for photo shoots and stuff, this is what I prefer on me as well. It also depends on like the face you have, if that makes sense. For example, I do have a bigger face, which is not a bad thing, but it just means for me, I style my wigs a little bit bigger, so my face looks a bit daintier. So, you know, if you have a very small face, for example, can you make a wig with a long plate structure like that, Douglas? Can you make a wig with a long plate structure? Ah, thank you. A long braid structure like that, I guess, for the bangs. I am not quite sure what you mean by the question. With a long plate structure like that, I guess, for the bangs. Ooh. Got someone joining. Alright. I'm gonna come back to that. I assume I'm not quite sure what. I don't understand the question. I need also maybe at that point to say that my first language is in fact not English. I speak German. Anyways, real quick, to avoid certain things, in general, like what I avoid, or what I, you know, recommend to avoid, are like these very cheap Party City wigs, the overly shiny ones, the very cheap ones you see at parties. Those are not worth your money. They're also a lot of times overpriced. Pre-styled wigs, and I mean that in the sense of not the pre-colored wigs, but the pre-style you can sometimes from Amazon. I had that one time with my Reno wig. I bought it and there were spirals, like spikes styled in with, they were glued, they were completely solid. You maybe have that as well when you ordered a wig and there was like a glued solid piece, maybe like they tried to do the top thing that was completely glued. You can a lot of times wash it out with hot water and like a tiny comb, and a lot of like patience you can wash it out, but it takes a while. But if you see that in the reference pictures in the wig there's like something that looks like there's glue on, maybe buy another wig. Don't that one's terrible, because there's a lot more work to get it washed out. The second thing is second-hand wigs. It's not always a bad thing, but just keep an eye out. If a person has pre-styled a second-hand wig, if you are friends, maybe you can give it a try first. If it fits on your face, great, you can get it, obviously. But if you buy it over the internet, it's sometimes a bit difficult, because maybe I cut the bangs here, they work great for me, but you have maybe a bigger face, and all of a sudden your bangs are up here, or they're down. If it's down here, it's not a trouble, you can shorten them, but it's always a bit of I say gamble. If they're pre-styled, if you can give it a try, it's great. Otherwise, just ask for the measurements of the face. Be like, hey, would you mind sending me a measurement of the face? Hello, I do want to ask, can I make I am going on to that a bit later. Oh, wait, like, can you make solid wig that has the braid? You definitely can. There's a lot of, that's like the helmet wigs. I think that's a more difficult techniques to do. You will just have to like basically glue the wefts differently on. Like for the Jinx wig that I'm planning on making, I will also have to like re-glue the braids and weft stuff. Like I have to, how to say this, there's a thing called cross wefting in a way, which is like basically, I'm trying to explain this. I'm gonna explain it with my fingers because I think it's the easiest. If you have a braid in the end, you basically cross them like this. Like the first braid is on the first hair is like this, and then like this, and then you can afterwards braid it without it showing any through. That makes sense. But yeah, that's kind of like just be aware of what wig you choose, for the project. If you want to have a lot of spikes, kind of choose a store that has a lot of them. I talked a little bit about with Neon earlier. Arda Wigs, for example, is great. They have a lot of wefts. They're very thick. I personally also work with casual wigs. The only trouble with those is they're quite big wigs. So if you have a very small head, you will have to maybe take it in or make some styling techniques to be able to put it on so it still fits your head. But I'm gonna go over that as well. All right, can we have the next slide? Can do it again. Thank you. All right, so what do we need? There's in the what do we need section, there's now gonna be a lot of things. So a lot of these are nice to haves, and they're not necessarily not necessary. I will tell you which things are, in a sense, necessary. All right, so we do need a wig head to style on. You can style it on your head, but you don't see the back. In general, I can't do it. If you can, I'm impressed by it. I need a wig head because I need to see all up and down, like all sides of it. And there's different kinds of wig heads that you can use to style. So they have different pros and cons. For example, there is what you see a lot. We have these lovely styrofoam wig heads. They look great at first glance. The trouble with these is a lot of times they're too small. Like they're too small for an actual head. If you have a small head, then you can do the measurements and then it works. There's also techniques where you can put like tissues and stuff on it and then tape over it to make it bigger for your head size. I just don't like working with them. They're like, because I also use a lot of glue and stuff, it's not worth it for me. I personally work a lot with the cork wig heads, which is this baby. You see it there as well, like on the picture. They come in different sizes. They have, in fact, if you look on the back here, the little line, they have a little number. That's the inches you have. You can measure your head with a measuring tape, and then get a wig head that is your size, which makes your life a lot easier because the wig head has your size. So if it fits in the wig head and it looks good, it will fit on your face. So, which is quite fun, because Isa, my partner, despises styling with these ones. Doesn't understand it, doesn't get it. However, they have, and I call it creepy because I don't like it. I think it's terrifying. It looks like it's looking into. I don't want to style, and it looks like it looks into your soul. But this one fits, for example, very good for their face. So, and they're used to styling on these. So they also know that like this is not their face or like the height, so they know how high they have to make it. If that works for you, that's great. I cannot tell you anything about these because I avoid them like the plague. But just so you are aware, these exist and they're fine. Do I judge you? A little bit, but that's fine. We're gonna use this one today. I'm gonna show you some techniques with that one. But yeah. What you also will need are pins. So you can use sewing pins. That's not a bad thing per se, but they're very short. And I don't use them for wig styling. I in fact use these ones. These are for flowers because they're longer. So if you wanna buy them, like look up pins for flower bouquets or stuff like that, or like for you will find them and just read in the description of how long they are. I can give you this one in centimeters. This one is actually, what do we have here? That one's like 6 centimeters, which is quite a decent size. But it makes it a lot easier to hold things in place. Because also I can hold, like when I have a little spike, I can hold it in place a bit easier if it goes out, which just gives me an easier time. Also just there's more, like they're more sturdy, which is great. So flower pins are a very, very good thing to have. Then we also just like what I have, and hair twist clips. You can get them from a lot of different stores. They also sometimes sell them, like we literally can buy them in like just a store where you can buy hair color and and shampoo and all that normal kind of stuff, and the deodorant. We can also buy this there in the hair section. Sometimes they have them because a lot of people use them as well for hairstyling. These are sectioning clips. They look like this. They're really great. I currently use them also on here, on my wig. You can tell I'm just, you know, holding the hair up with it. It makes my life a lot easier. What you can also use is, I need to see where I put them. I use also these ones. They're a different kind of sectioning clip, but they have a better grip to hold stuff up. If it's like very thin hair, like they have a better grip. I don't really have a preference between both of the ones I have. I'm not gonna be honest. I like pretty much both the same. I use them also interchangeably. But yeah, for these clips, very, very helpful when you have to put stuff where you need it. Then the big hair clamp, what I mean by that is when you have long hair, you maybe already have like one of these big hair clamps. If you have a lot of hair in a wig, it's easier than these ones to put it up. It's not necessary, it's a nice to have kind of thing. Another thing is foam colors. I'm gonna go into them a little bit today as well later on. They look like this. They look like sugarcane. Well, mine have color on it, so they don't look as nice anymore. But they're very sleek like this. They have a wire inside. Because they have their foam, I can literally, if I have it, I can just pin it through them and they will hold. Very, very great little thing. Nice to have, not necessary. You can find ways around this. I will also show you the ways to not use them. But if you have the funds, or you happen to get across them, very nice to have thing. And then the last thing, which is a nice to have, but also kind of for me personally at this point a necessity to have, is tiny hair ties. Like, I mean, it is very. Do I have a black one? It's not. You cannot see the see-through one. I have black and skin see-through ones, but basically these very tiny hair ties. Well, that one was slightly brittle. They're very good for sectioning in between. And I will show you guys how I do that, because before I start styling, I section completely everything off the way I need, and then we start styling, which is very, very helpful. But I'm also going to go into that when I show. I didn't even think of putting a pin through. That's good. I'm glad that you guys are already learning new things. All right. That's what we have from the wig section. Then we need scissors, obviously. So there's two types of scissors. There is these ones, and the ones who are great for what's called for thinning, basically. The reasoning why we use these kind of scissors and not normal scissors is because, how do I say, they can grab the fiber, and they can occasionally make the hair very frizzy in a very weird way. It's not a bad thing per se. If you just started styling and you're getting into it, it's completely fine to use your normal scissors. Maybe make sure to get a new pair for it, so it's they're nice and sharp, and don't use them for anything else. It's a similar thing for like I don't know if you guys sew. I think some of you do. It's like if I would use my little fabric scissors on foam. Do not use these on anything else but hair. Which is quite fun because I'm attached to these ones. I'm not attached to my. I've destroyed a lot of fabric scissors in my life because they just cut very good. But yeah, these scissors are very easy, very great. Also, I personally, that's also a personal thing, I like that this one has a bigger thumb hole. It makes my life a bit easier when I have to do a lot of cutting. So yeah, but there's also preference. Is I just bought new ones as well. They look very fancy. I don't dare touching them. But yeah, no. So these are the two scissors we need. And we shall continue. So these are a must if you want to do wig styling. Scissors. Oh, that didn't work. Oh, that isn't playing. Alright, so we go into brush and combs. So there's a lot of brush and combs you can use. And there's a lot of plus and minus to a lot of different ones. But I try to list some up, the ones I need, the ones I use, which is basically, we're going to start with a sectioning comb. This one looks like this. The very plasticky one, and the back thing is a metal thing, which is easy to like section things off, especially when you have. I'm gonna just put a wig on real quick. Gonna go on that as well afterwards, how to put it on. But for now, oh god. Can you just stand for a second? Thank you. But it's just when we section things off, when you have your hands, obviously be like, oh, this is nice. It's just with this one, you will have an there you go. You see it like this better. You have an easier time to actually go in to be like, hey, I want this section as well. Is an easier time sectioning the wefts off. That's why we like the metal rod in the back. So why I wrote also metal ones is because it depends if we're gonna go into heat styling later on with crimping and stuff. I might also have a metal one, specifically because I heat my wigs up usually quite a lot, and I have in fact melted these ones before, which is also why I have a backup here. I have a pack of 3 also somewhere else. I go through these combs quite regularly because I prefer the plastic ones, but technically the metal ones are better for like heat styling. I just preference use the other one, but if you don't want to have as many combs to throw away, metal ones are quite nice. The second thing is a white couve tone, which is mine looks like this. This is specifically for long wigs. For short wigs you don't really need them. It's just you use it for detangling. It's a lot easier to detangle wigs with this if you don't want to use your hands as well. This one is very, very nice. Easier to brush through it first. We don't have to brush through it. We first go with this one through and just detangle it, and then go and use a finer comb one and so on. And then lastly, a teasing comb. So there's different ones you can use. Also, if you look up, there's different types of teasing combs. You use whatever you are comfortable with. I personally, mine has still hair on it. Mine looks like this. I just really like this one because it's really easy to work with, and it teases the hair up quite nicely, quite easily, quite fast. So I really like these kind of teasing combs. If you literally Google teasing comb, you will find a lot of different ones. You do whatever you prefer. Then a nice to have thing is a synthetic hairbrush. I actually do have one. I just never really use it. I in fact use this one, which it's a similar thing. It's a very, very wide one, so it technically works as well. Also just for combing out long wigs. It's not a necessity, it's a nice to have. I use this one for long wigs if it's like a lot just to comb out. Let me put them back. Okay. Then another thing nice to have, that goes into the styling thing a bit more, is I'm gonna go into 2 things. Number 1 is a toothbrush. Just make sure you don't use it for anything else in the wig styling. I also classify this as a toothbrush. I know it's not a toothbrush. I have no idea how this comb is called, with a tiny little thing on the other side here. That's one of the things, and then another one that is quite nice to have is an eyebrow brush comb thingy when you style eyebrows. Similar to this one. If you have this one, you'll be fine, but also you can use an eyebrow, like the very round one. For those guys who do makeup will probably know what I mean. That's also very nice to get stuff done. Alright, let me go through actually about some stuff, but that's great. Thanks, fire extinguisher. Does that detangling work on all types of wigs, straight, wavy, curly? The detangler in general is for longer ones. With curls, it's like it depends. It depends on the kind of curls you have. If you have them very like styled, you will obviously section them off. But these, if you don't want to fully comb everything out, because if you go in with this kind of brush in a curly wig, it's gonna do a little Merida moment, which we don't really want sometimes. So these kind of combs are better for like curly wigs if you want to maintain the curl a little bit. But what I in general recommend a lot of times with curly wigs is that if it's been a few times, just brush it out fully. Give it how's it called, a flat ironing down and recurl. That's what I do. But I also understand that not everyone has the time or wants to recurl wigs on a regular base, so detanglings are better. Or if you have Merida wig like I do, I literally don't think I ever brush out the back, like the bottom part of my Merida wig. It's just a big curly wig, and it's beautiful. Have I washed it? Yes, I've washed and like disinfected it, but I have not ever brushed it out because I'm like, you know what? It's in the character now. That's it. I've given up on that one. All right, next one. That's it. Combs and brushes. We shall continue. So heat. So there's different ways of doing it. if you do not have any of the things, you can use a hair dryer. I personally not the biggest fan of the hair dryer because the air that comes out it's a lot of wind that I don't like when I style wigs. So I've never used a hair dryer. The first thing I got when I got into wig styling more was a steamer. I have literally a similar looking one to here. The thing with the steamer is it cannot melt the hair, which is very, very great because water cannot heat up over a certain amount, and that means it can physically not destroy the wig fibers, which is what we want. We don't want it to burn the wig fibers, so a steamer is very, very easy to have. Also, I got mine actually back then from a supermarket for like $20, I think, which wasn't too bad. So you can get them quite cheap a lot of times. So maybe you can also use them buy them secondhand somewhere. The only thing when you use a steamer, I'm going to go into it, is use distilled water, because for example in the Netherlands we have a lot of calcium in the water, or like, I'm not sure if that's the word, but a lot of like the white stuff that, like, clogs everything. So that's not so fun. So try either you can buy distilled water or like get a water distiller to use it. It's gonna last you just a lot longer. I'm just checking. This sounds like a murder wig too. Fair enough. Alright, sweet. The second thing is a hair straightener. I actually have a hair straightener here that I only use this one for wigs. We don't talk about the slightly burnt parts in here. That is a hairspray that got slightly stuck to it at this point. I probably could clean it. Should probably clean it at one point again. But yes, if you can afford one, it's nice to have one with different heat settings, because not every wig can deal with the same amount of heat. So that's a little good thing. Same thing with a crimper. I actually want to get a new one. This one is semi-practical because it heats up on the top here quite a lot. But yeah, this one also, you don't see it, but it has in the middle here, maybe you can see it a little bit, has also different heat settings. It goes from 140 to 220 degrees, which is very great. And otherwise, again, a hairdryer. So yeah, these are like the utensils that I use. I do, funnily enough, not use the flattening iron too much. I mainly use the crimper also for flattening, because you can, if you just like do this, you just pull down, it works. So a lot of times I barely use this one, but I think it's good to mention anyway. All right, can we continue to the next slide while I pick up a needle from the floor? Lovely. So we do need glue. I personally, like every other cosplayer I have got to be, you maybe have seen, have a little bit of a stash back there, because whenever, there you go, my stash. Whenever there's a sale on them, when you buy one get one free, you bet I'm gonna get a few. It's always great to get them cheaper. There's in Europe, there's a store called Normal, which is an extra store. It's, I think, in Nordic countries. I think there's also in some other countries. They have them quite cheap, which is very, very nice. Otherwise, yeah, I usually wait until there's a thing and I just get a little bit of a bulk order. If we don't have a crimper, so I wrote it wrong. I'm gonna go through that. I'm gonna go through that when I show you guys a little bit of what we're doing. And for now, I'm just gonna go through like what kind of things I have. But I'm gonna circle back to that question, Helen. All right. I use Yoo-hoo glue. That, I'm not gonna lie, it was a difficult thing for me at first, because everyone speaks about the Yoo-hoo glue, and then you look up the Yoo-hoo glue and you realize there's 20 different ones. Specifically, I use the Renature one, Flinkerflasche, because I like the applicator of this one. I also have a refill one, which is the same one. I'm just trying to literally, it's like twist and glue. It is without, what is that word in English? There's a German one in here who can probably translate this for me. Ohne Lösungsmittel. There's one German person here who could probably translate that for me. I hope so. That's just a refill. But it's basically this little thing. To give you a thing, I used the one with the green one. The reason I like this one is because it dries completely clear. It doesn't leave as much shine as other glues. I, however, also use this one. I use this one a lot of times if I have wefts that where you don't see the beginning of. So if I do, for example, a slick back ponytail wig, and I know the front here is going to be covered by hair, I will use this one simply by the fact that it's an all-purpose glue. It also dries clear, but it dries faster. It dries double the time than the other one, like 2 times faster than the other one. So I use that one for wefts a lot of times. Unless the wefts are like in the front visible, then I use the other one. It's a bit of a depending on what I need. I also use hot glue for a lot of things. Hot glue is a very good friend of mine, actually. I got used to it at this point for gluing wefts on and stuff, but we're gonna go into that as well. And then a silicone brush. It's not necessary. You can do it with fingers a lot of times, but whenever you have to glue wefts and stuff, I do recommend a silicone brush. It looks like this. It's just like a silicone thing on top, which is great, so you can easily put stuff down. I also just use it to glue down the back of the wig because I don't have to use my fingers. I can just do this, and not any product goes in, and you can very easily clean it up afterwards. So you're not going to destroy too many brushes with this, because I do have some normal ones up here as well that I use, but also that's a mistake. Without solvents. Thank you so much. There are some new glue and Tekla and Zarakas. Yeah. Otherwise, if you are really, really unsure, either ask the cosplayers in your area which ones they use, if they use any, and otherwise, get some tiny bottles and try them out, and just try out which one works the best for you. This one for me personally is the one I like at this point. I also literally asked around. I messaged, funnily enough, some of the bigger wig sellers that are known for it, just messaged like, hey, quick question, I'm looking into it. Do you have a specific, I tried out, I don't know which one. Would you mind giving me a link? And most of the times, a lot of wig sellers are willing to share, or tell hey, just use this one. Just ask. The worst that can happen is that you don't get a reply. Generally, if you have any questions to any cosplay, always ask. The worst that can happen is that you don't get a reply. That's, in my eyes, if you're unsure, ask questions. Alright, next, we covered the glue section now. I'm also, by the way, I'm gonna real quick circle back. I am on purpose not going into the styling gel. I will mention why later. You don't need that at all. It's terrible. Alright, so we're also gonna go in the whole color section towards the end of the workshop bit, which is gonna be what do we use to color wigs. So there's different methods of doing it. You can use eyeshadows, which are great. You can use chalk, or you have some. Those are, however, better for shorter wigs, or if you have ears and stuff like that. And airbrush, I'm gonna go into that as well, because wig airbrushing is a bit different than costume airbrushing. And alcoholic markers and dye. I'm not gonna go too much into the dye section because I can't really show you that, because I would have to boil up the pot and dip dye the wig in. But there's a lot of tutorials out there. If you look in, dyeing a wig with rich dye, you will find a ton of tutorials on YouTube. So that's a big thing. The only thing I will give you for that one is whatever you use for cosplay, do not use for other things, in the sense of if you use a pot to dye fabrics or wigs, do not use that to cook. You have something you stir it with the dye, do not use that one to cook. I, for example, also do not use this one for my hair. We have one outside, a smaller one that I use for my hair, because I don't know what is on here. I don't really want to, burn my hair off with it. So, in general, if you use it on wigs, maybe don't use it, to consume stuff. Just in general. With caulk and eyeshadow, when they fade away. What? Why wouldn't you put the boiling dye water in your workshop? Oh, I know, right? I'm just I'm so hot, I will just hold it like this and start boiling. Wig soup, indeed. Why chalk and eyeshadow? Basically, not necessarily. You have to freshen them up from time to time, but I can actually, if someone wants to be as kind, I think one of the best examples I have is actually not my wig, it's Isa's wig. They used pink eyeshadow for the angel dust wig. That is nothing else there, it's just neon pink eyeshadow that they dabbed on. And then put a little bit of hairspray on to fix it on, and that's it. They occasionally do a bit of a fresh up, but in general you can use eyeshadow really, really great to just give depth to your wig. I use it to do it on areas where I can't airbrush sometimes. I go into it as well. Right, I see people typing. Alright, can we have the next slide? There's one more slide that I want to, and this is really, really important, and I want to talk about this one before I start to go into the thing. So you're gonna see me doing stuff in this workshop that I usually would not do, looking like this, because the first thing I wear usually is a respirator mask. Mine is currently, actually, it's right at the entrance, it's hanging there, because you still work with hairspray, but you work also with when you heat it up. It fumes and heat, and you heat up plastic. It's not a healthy thing to breathe in. We don't want. There we go. Thank you so much. There we go. Yes, someone sent a picture of it. That is actually all dyed with eyeshadow and a little eyeshadow brush. But yes, use a respirator if you have one. Otherwise, make sure you have a very, very well ventilated room. It is one thing if you just do a little bit of wig styling, but if you sit here for an hour or two, like very close, you heat up the wig, you have things. I wear mine on purpose because I had the moment I realized I need to wear one is when I walked out of the room, and I was like, have you been sitting in that room? I was like, yes, the entire room apparently smelled terrible, but I was sitting in it for so long I didn't realize it, and I didn't open the window. So, learn from my mistakes, do as sane as I do, wear a respirator when you can. It's a very good thing to have. The second thing is a heat-resistant glove. I actually lost mine. I don't know where it is, but it's reordered. It should be coming in next week. It's basically, when I crimp on quite a high setting, and you touch the fibers, you can burn your hands. A heat-resistant glove is just make sure that you can't burn yourself. I also have the issue with this crimper that the entire thing heats up, so I can crimp it, because if I crimp it here, I need to also put pressure on here to get it nice and close, and if I'm not careful and touch it here, I burn myself. So heat-resistant gloves are a very, very good thing. Then open a window if you can. I understand it's sometimes winter and summer and it's thing, but if it's in summer, open the window. Just I have a door here behind me. Just open the window, get some air in. It's very good for you. Have air and stuff. Another good thing what I have is a mat to use your utensils on. So I have a silicone mat here that whenever I work with like anything that is like, how's it called, a crimper or a flattening iron, I just can put it on top of there, and I don't have to worry it burning through a table or burning anything, because it's the mat that is protecting everything. So that one is not a necessity, but it's a nice to have kind of thing. She smells for me. All right. The other thing that is very good to have, and I mean this in a separate thing, I do have, it's a little bit full, lovely, I do have a bin. Usually when I cut wigs, I have the bin directly underneath the wig. So when I cut, it goes directly in and makes a bit less of a mess. So, a bin is a very nice thing to have just around, or like, you can even just use a trash bag and have it underneath. It's just gonna, make your life a bit less messy, which is nice. Another thing that is more for washing, it's a nice to have thing, is especially when you get the wig secondhand, if someone has worn it before, get a alcohol spray. You can look it up. You can also even mix vodka with water in a spray bottle to disinfect it. I just have like alcohol, like the very high % alcohol to just disinfect the stuff that I don't wear, whenever I have a wig, because when you do helmet style wigs or when they're quite thin, you can obviously not wash it. Like, I cannot take my fully spiked child wig and put it into a bathtub. That's not going to be a good thing. Some wigs you can, if you wear them very natural, then you can wash them, that's great. But a lot of times with cosplay wigs, they're styled, and especially when you have eyeshadow and other things in, you can't really wash them as well. So yeah, that's a nice thing to just, disinfect your things, which is a very, very good thing to do. Yes. I can't find it anywhere. I do everything on a balcony. See, that's fair. I as well. Like, I literally have the door completely open, and then I'm basically on my balcony. But yeah, so that's some things on safety. Another thing I didn't have on my thingy, but I talked about is when you have a water bottle, make sure it's covered. I have this one specifically so I can also just lock it down, and then I try to put it on the other side when I work here. So I put it on the other side so I don't spray on it. But I've had before just a glass of water, and I was working, and I tried to take a sip, and I realized the entire room had hairspray on it, and the water tasted weird. So if you have a bottle, maybe even a bottle that you can close, have something like that with to stay hydrated and stuff. Which is another thing, please make sure to stay hydrated, especially when you work on wigs. You don't realize sometimes. I personally sit sometimes for 7-8 hours on it, without a break, and just realize, oh shit. So, water is a good thing. Alright, so, I'm gonna go through some show and tell now, however, because I can talk a lot, but it's easier to show you guys, which is now also if there's any questions on things that are unsure. So, we're gonna start with 2 things. Number 1, I'm gonna go over the core cat because I'm mainly styling with them. because I personally really like them. I have two actually. The other one that you've seen is a smaller one because my client has a smaller head. This one is, funnily enough, for a client's face, is not mine, but gives you some tips. So, number one, why do I cover it in cellophane? So, why do I cover it in cellophane? Because we're working with a steamer, which is water, and it's gonna make stuff wet. This is cork underneath. Cork can get moldy, so if you're not careful and you use this one, it's possible it's already molding inside and you don't know it, and you don't want, mold on your head. This is not a nice thing to have. So what we do in general, even if you don't want to draw anything on it, you cover it with cellophane. You use a heat gun, or not necessarily, but I use a heat gun to like shrink it down, or a hairdryer, like just heat it up and shrink it down so it sticks to it. Then what I do, as you can see, it looks like a bit funky with the lines. So these lines are not here just for fun. They're literally measurements for a face. Whenever I get a wig commission, I literally ask the clients, like, hey, please send me a picture like this, or I ask them directly for some other measurements. Like, usually ask them for the measurement around here, because I need to know which wig size which wig head size I need to use. But basically, I measure from like the here down. You can even take a picture of yourself, just or ask your friend or your family to take a picture of you like this. And then you can very easily, you decide on around this area, hey, I'm gonna make here start with the hair, and you measure down, and then you make the lines for like there's the eyes, there's the nose, there's the lips, and there's the chin. And we do this so you can style like the bangs accordingly, because different faces need different lengths of bangs and stuff. So if you have your face, you can do it quite easily. And then you always have the middle, and then when you have the eyes, you have the eye line in. What you can do yourself is you measure here over your eyes, you go to where the hair starts, you put it on, and you can draw the lines on where is your hairline. And you basically can draw the entire thing of like, oh, that line is, I'm trying to do it so you guys can see it better. For example, here, and you'll be like, alright, so my hairline is here. And then you can just, connect it to the top line, and you see, oh look, I have an entire hairline that's coming along. Another trick that I do, after I've drawn it on, I use another layer of cellophane, just one, because depending on what you use, specifically if you use Sharpies, if you work with hairspray and you work with heat, they will start coloring off your hands, which is not a bad thing per se, but I just at one point realized my hands are completely colored and I couldn't figure out why, so I just use another layer of cellophane, just to make sure the eddings so far have been holding, but it's a good little thing, because because I struggle to work out what to measure for wigs. There we go. But yeah, the main thing that I need for measurement is I need the face, and I usually also, I didn't have to do it on this one because it's a wig style, but I also usually draw on the ears on the side. What I do for that is, that's why I ask for like the measurement for like, that's why I ask specifically for this measurement for like ear to ear kind of measurement, because then I can literally, the hairline over it, and I can literally go over the hairline here, and then I know exactly where my client's ears are. And that is specifically important for if a client has a lot smaller face than I do, because I'm not used of doing smaller faces that much. So I will have to start, because I style spikes around the ears a lot of times as well, so they perfectly go around the ears and are spiked here. If I measure your ears wrong, the spike is not going to be right. So that's why we do the measurement thing. The truth. Colorful hands are the mark of a cosplayer. True. I currently am actually decent. Another good trick, funnily enough, is you know how a lot of times when you work on like craft foam or other things, you destroy your nails. So long nails are actually very helpful for wigs, because it's easier to section stuff. Most of my friends who do wig stylings have actually fake nails, like very long ones. And people are like, oh, how do you style wigs like that? Because it makes it easier. It makes it a lot easier to put stuff and like section off. So that's why all of them have long nails, because it makes your life easier. But yes, so we have the face now drawn, so technically this is just ready. Another line I do as well here is on the neck. That's why I ask for like this measurement, because then I know where does the neckline have to be, and I ask for the length of the neckline because I need to know how much we need to cover down there. So this line is basically, hey, this is like the lowest part, and that's where the neck hair is, and then technically it goes up here and up here on the other side. But yes, so this helps me to then put the wig on. So Gonna use this one. This is already slightly pre-styled. We don't talk about it. What I do now, I'm gonna real quick do it so I can see it. I pull the wig down to where the hairline is and pin it down there. So I pin slightly upwards. Hello. Doesn't really matter on this one. So never mind what I just said. You just pin it down so it holds. You can pin pretty much straight on these ones. This one is just like so it is on the line because then it is laying where I need it to lay. We continue to the front. So currently it seems to lay a bit further back. No. The client has a longer wig, so we're gonna have to pull it slightly into the front. And then we're gonna pull a pin in the front as well. But people underestimate how much the pinning process actually changes, like how you style the wig. Like it's incredible. So then we have obviously the little side flaps here on both sides. Did I measure it correct? Did I do it correctly? I did actually. Look at that. What I do as well is I'm looking always for the little elastic. This one. And then I pin the elastic down. I pull it down a little bit and I pin it upwards. So the reason why I pin it like, I pin it like this and not the other way around is because now the elastic cannot rip that needle is not going anywhere because the elastic is pulling up, so it's pulling the needle further in. If I pin it the other way around, it's possible that it will over time rip the elastic out and maybe the needle starts flying. That would not be so fun. Well, let's not do that. Alright, let me just... Hello, I folded half of it underneath. That's not so helpful. Where's my little elastic? Come here. There we go. I'm gonna pin this one down as well. Same. There we go. But yes. So you see? So I basically used 4 needles, and this is basically already where I need it. It's not going anywhere. This is very stable. So I can actually start working on this one already, which is great. This one is, the ends are dyed. I'm going to go into it as well. Besides that, it's basically an unstyled wig, which is great. So we're going to go into sectioning, because we're not going to, tease the entirety of everything. So there's a lot of hair here, as you can tell. Now this is where the little... Where did I put it? I just had it in my hands 2 minutes ago. There you go. That's where we put this one to use now. We section off. We're like, hey, I want to do this area separately here. We section according to wefts. That's what I do usually. It just makes it easier for you to also see what have you worked on already and what haven't you worked on. So I'm going to section all this off. And now there's 2 things. Number 1 is we can use a hair tie, because it's long enough, so I can just use a hair tie to just, grab the top hair where I need it to go. This doesn't have to hold right now or look pretty. And then we use these little thingies to, clip them in space where we need them to clip. So, we have it nice sectioned. Yeah. And that's the whole trick about sectioning. So, why do we section right away? So, first, I'm going to have a look through. Sometimes, this one doesn't actually, but you maybe have realized that when you look through wigs, especially long wigs, a lot of times, they have little extra lines in that are like short hairs. Like, how do I say this? There's a normal wig weft, and there's like short wefts in between. They are for volume there. Depending on what you style, they are not really going to be in the way because you're going to cover them anyways. Oh, I love that. Anyone else catch what a marker wig had? Okay. I can send a picture in later. Basically, real quick, repeat. The face is the most important thing. Then from here to ear, so you know the ear, and then from the hairline to the back of the nape, so you know how deep you have to, and then the length of the nape, where like the hair is there. That's like the most important ones. I usually get more measurements from my client, simply for the reason because I go off the fact that sounds so bad. I'm going off the fact that my client is stupid and doesn't know how to measure, which is why I'm asking for more measurements than I actually need. Because if I realize, like I have actually a client that gave me measurements for the head, and the measurement they gave me for this one is not possible. The measurement that they gave me here is for a toddler. And that's not like the rest of the measure. Thankfully, all the other measurements are like slightly larger, but that told me that, oh, okay, thankfully I could figure this one out because of other measurements. So I always assume they're working with, yeah, I'm always working, yes, you always have to assume you work with the dumbest person ever. Rather ask more questions than you, exactly. Thank you for the hand holding. No worries. That's why I'm here today. I'm here for you guys to, like, you know, to learn, which is great. So, the little short things in between, they actually have some here as well. You can actually, I don't know how well you guys can see that. There's some shorter ones here as well. Let me just, can you guys see what I'm holding here? It's a very like these very short bits here. No, well, wait, is it? I don't know if you guys can see it. They're very light. However, there are some short ones here. They don't bother me per se, because again, most of the times they're covered unless you make a short undercut wig. That's a whole other story. I could make an entire tutorial how to do undercut wigs, or what I use. I'm just gonna give one pointer. If you need to make an undercut wig on the side, either, you know, make sure you have a lot of wefts you can cut short and then put it where you need them, or number 2, use fake fur. It's fake fur, like a very good quality fake fur is thicker, especially for blonde, is a lot thicker to work with than hair. And if you have that, you can just cut it and just, you know, ask me for undercut wigs. Yeah. So yeah, fake fur for undercut wigs is, listen, fake fur for undercut, I will die on that hill. And yarn, that would also. Yarn, I've never done a yarn wig. I think it's possible. You can also brush it out and then tie it on and stuff. I've just never done it. I'm talking about like a short undercut. I don't know if it's gonna be possible. Probably. I cannot speak on that thing, in all honesty. But yes, so we're going into the crimping process. So there's a little like rule of thumb, which is basically when you crimp, a lot of people start crimping. It is not hot currently. A lot of people start crimping like this. Which, if you crimp like this, you're gonna get crimp marks that are horizontal. That's how you get the horizontal line. Some people like seeing that, and I'm like, you know, that's your style. I personally don't like seeing them. I'm trying to get rid of them as much as I can. So what I do instead, and this is very simple, I usually take around a height of 3. Like I take 3 wefts, depending. Sometimes if I'm lazy, I'm taking a 4th one, because I'm me. And depending, sometimes I have a lot of stuff to like crimp. And I crimp instead of like this. I crimp like this. I crimp vertical, because if I crimp like this, I'm gonna actually turn it on. So it's gonna take a second to heat up, so I can show you guys properly. The reason, by the way, do you guys know why we crimp in the first place? Because people know, oh, it's making the hair more voluminous. Yes, that is very true. However, there's more to it than just that. Basically, the trouble is, wig hair, this is not hair, it's plastic. So the plastic is very, very sleek and it's not going to hold to anything. So even if I do this, if I put a lot of hairspray and heat on it, it's not going to hold, because it basically have very long, very thick, very like long straight things, and they're not going to hold to anything. Even if you like tangle them, they're still straight thing. What we do is we basically force them to do this. So the moment they do, they actually lock into each other and they don't get entangled as fast anymore. Which is basically what we're doing when we tease. The same thing happens when we crimp. As a little like, why are we doing this in the first place? I tease because I don't have a steamer or crimper. That's a-okay. I'm also gonna go, I actually do both on certain areas. So a lot of times, again, I'm gonna go into crimping real quick. I'm gonna do it like this. Because, is it hot enough? Should be. Are you hot enough? You're still heating up. No, you're still heating up. You're not done yet. Yeah. Alright, I'm gonna go into crimping in the meantime and teasing. So what I do a lot of times, especially for the front, I never do it for the back or side areas, but I do it most of the times for the front areas, because even if I get all the crimp marks out, they're not all out a lot of times. So after crimping, I go in with teasing, because I like there to be no crimp marks, and I like there to be very, how's it called? It very well, where is it hot? There we go, it should be right. And I just prefer it. Also, if the wig is short, like for example, I did a Y wig. That one was to, ooh, this is very hot. That one is to, and there we go, too short on certain areas to be crimped, so I tease. Whenever you have short wigs, teasing is always a good thing. So you usually shouldn't smoke. The trouble is because it's already slightly pre-styled, there's hairspray and stuff in, so it's gonna be a little bit crazy. So you see how we crimp, how we have this little thing. So what I do as well, and that's why I need heat glove again, is I do this and it's crimped, and then I literally pull it one time straight down, and then I comb through one time. So this now looks very, very similar and very normal to the other wig hair. It looks pretty much the same. However, it feels very different. If you ever crimped or even if you tease, you will tell there's a lot more hold to it now. See? This is holding, whereas this one, if I do this, it's just not the hold. This entire thing feels completely different at this point. It also is a lot less shiny. So if you have a very cheap shiny wig, you can get always the shine out. What I now do as well, I will now crimp, now tease. Oh, look at me, my English wording is great today. So you see how I do this? So there's different ways now. Like I literally go in with my hands sometimes as well and just do it like this because it's very satisfying. And then I use the crimper to just heat it up again real quick, just a little bit. No hairspray yet, just just teasing and crimper. And now we have this lovely, lovely like mesh of net hair that looks like this. And then you start doing the tedious process of brushing all of this out, because it takes ages to do. There we go. It takes. I'm only doing it on this one strand, so you can actually see. You can already see now. It's very fluffy, and you'd be like, "Oh my god, this looks terrible." No, this is very good. We're giving it texture in that moment. When we want the hair to be have texture, we want to be able to work with the wig hair, because what is it? Wig is plastic, not hair. Then if you have a straightener, you can obviously straighten go over on one time, give it a bit of the thing back. But now, again, the wig has now very nice texture. So if you now want to do anything styling wise with it, you have a lot easier. See, now it stands even better. You have a very easy time. There's no hairspray or anything. This is just what good teasing and stuff can do. I also, for example, and there's a trick on my side, I have a wig that I'm working on where I need to put wefts in. These wefts are already crimped. I crimp my wefts before I put them in, because once you have them glued in, they're, you can rip them out if you're not careful, but also just gonna make my life a lot easier. So these are completely crimped. Same with whenever I have a long wig and I need to shorten it. Before I shorten the wig, I crimp the entire wig through and then shorten it. Why? Because I like using, a lot of times I have wefts like over. I have also here, for example, these are from the wefts for the wefts themselves, but the wefts were a lot longer. But I have a lot of leftover hair that I can use for other things, that I can use for it's quite a lot of hair actually. So I make sure to tie them up with tiny pony, like with tiny what's it called? My English is working today. Tiny hair ties. There we go. And then cut them off. So I have all of these. This is all leftover wefts, but they're all completely crimped, so I can just glue them in later on if I need them, without having to worry about, oh no, how do I crimp these? I'm really scared to work with long wigs because I don't have a steamer and a crimper. I feel like I'm mess up with just the teasing long. You're not gonna mess up with teasing a long wig. I will have to say, because I've done it before, teasing a long wig and then heating it up and brushing it out and doing that, if you need to do it at least once or twice, is just a lot of work. It works per se, but it just takes you a lot longer to do so, because you've seen how the crimping was done, and you've seen just how long I took to just brush out this little bit. If you do this with a long wig, you will brush out for a while, and it's not a bad, you can always brush it out. So it's the whole thing of what I would recommend, maybe if you get maybe an old wig, or your friend like, hey, so if you guys have an old wig that you don't need anymore, and try it out there. I had actually a very old tester wig that was terrible looking at this point, where I tried cutting techniques, I tried crimping, I tried heat styling, I've also burned off a lot of pieces and so on. To that, by the way, as well, whenever you're not sure how much heat your wig can go to one of the lower wefts and do a tester strand on the bottom, and then you can see how hot you can turn the crimper, so it can actually function, you know, without burning the entire wig. Do you have a steam iron? If super careful, but it works. That's very true. I've used I've used that as well in hotel rooms before. I didn't have a crimper with me, but I needed something crimped. I didn't have a steamer with me, but I needed some freshening up on the wig. So I got a flat iron. I put the steaming section on, put it on, and did that. Don't recommend it per se. It's good in like worst case scenarios, but unless you have to, don't. If you can invest into a steamer, it's a very good thing to have. It's gonna make your styling a lot easier. As for crimpers, they're nice to have as well. Just they're a lot more time saving. For me personally, because I do a lot of wigs, I cannot. If I spend 3 days just combing and teasing, I would have to charge a lot more. So for me, a crimper was a no-brainer to get. If you have short wefts, you will have to probably you can glue them in. I use personally hot glue for it. I like it the most. Or depending on also the Yoo-hoo glue can be quite helpful. If you have like the entire weft rows, you can sew them as well. If you have like the weft rows with the where you have where you see this top bit here, these ones, you can sew them in. I did this actually for my cosplay partners wig for a competition because they don't trust in glue and they were very anxious about it. So I was like, let me sew your wefts in. I'm gonna be nice. What you can do, however, if you have, for example, these kind of wefts, you can do a little loop. So now we see we have a loop. Now what is nice to have is if you have a crocheting needle, which I don't have because I rarely do this technique. If you have a crocheting needle, or otherwise you push it through the weft. I'm gonna see if you guys can see it in a sec. Give me yeah. There you go. So we loop this through. You guys see? And then you get your two wefts that you have here, and you pull it through like this, like a little knot. You see the top bit? And then you tighten it. What you will have to do here, once you're done, you will have to put a little bit of heat on it to just give it a bit of, so it stays in place. And you will have to use a little bit of glue, like a little dot on it, like just a little loop. That's it. That is another way if you have long wefts to put them in, but you see it has to be like a long weft. But yeah, that basically is in now. It's completely tied on here. Yeah, that is also a good way to put in wefts without. Ooh, interesting. I am recording. That was interesting. So yeah, if you want to add wefts in, that's a very good way to do so. If you have I actually do this a lot of times. I'm just thinking I did it for my Enzo wig. I did it this way, or in general as well. What I do sometimes if I want to do a cosplay for TikTok and I realize, oh, I have the wig, but I want to use the wig for something else. I'm like, oh, I would have to have stripes in, but I don't have the colors, but I have the wefts. And I'm like, you know what? I just tie them in. I don't even glue them. I just tie them in, because if I don't want them anymore, I can very easily open them up again. Like I can either cut them open, which this thingy is very helpful. It's technically to cut how's called to cut hair ties open. Oh, there we go. Are you loosening up again a little bit? There we go. Or no, I'm not doing it. It doesn't want to right now. What we can also do, if we don't, we can literally just say, oh fuck it, and we just cut them out. And then there's nothing to hold this again. This falls out, and all of a sudden, you have the leftover wefts that you now need or don't need. But yeah, that's how you put wefts in and out, and you see like my other wig looks still normal. There's nothing in, so that's a very good thing if you have like, you want to try something out, or do the wig colors work together. It's a very good way to do so. It's like just tying them in. That's really smart. Thank you. I want one of those. Oh, interesting. All right, amazing. Thank you. No worries. All right, so we have Wig Workshop 1.1. So we now did the crimping, teasing. We're gonna go over like spikes a little bit. I'm gonna real quick have to do some more teasing here. I'm gonna do it with you guys together, so we can do some chit chat in the meantime, because it's nice to see. So we crimped this bit again. So when you do spikes specifically, you need a bit more than just this little bit here. The spike itself is it would be nice for maybe this short, but you can see it's not a lot of hair. I would like a little bit of more hair when I do this. So I'm just pinning this up real quick and adding some more hair on the bottom. I think it's not much I need extra actually. Yes, there we go. Again, keep an eye on that it gets quite hot. When you do this, make sure to don't burn yourself. I have burnt myself many, many times while styling wigs. So I'm also very used to like the heat on my hands at this point, which not everyone is. So, you know, keep an eye on that. For example, for depending on what kind of spikes you do, I would actually not use this wig for spikes. This wig does not have enough wefts for me to spike. I would put in more wefts unless, and now it depends, unless you do the spike slightly downward. I do have a lot of wigs where like I have enough wefts for the spikes because they are styled downward, and they look great because no one's gonna look from the wig underneath. So if you look at some of my wigs from underneath, they look a bit empty. In quotations, you see a bit of holes, but that nobody is gonna see that because you're looking from the bottom. Alright, so in the spiking thing, a big thing what I see a lot of times is they're like, oh, I did this, so they put a lot of hairspray on it. Maybe they heat up a little bit. Maybe, I don't know, they do this, and then there's a spike, and it, you know, these very thin-looking spikes, like very this. Maybe you've seen them, like these kind of like wig spikes. If you like them, that's good for you. I personally don't. So we're gonna find a way around this today. So what we do is number one, we have way too. We don't have enough hair for the length. So we say we do a spike around this area right now. So we have number one too much. So we could just cut like this, which would be terrible, because then we have just one straight cut. That's very difficult to spike afterwards. So what we do instead is we take these ones and we do a little this movement while we cut. So we do a little, and you see I go in quite heavily, and it looks about this when you cut it. So this is a very good thing. So then afterwards we go in again with my fine tooth comb. You will also realize this is my most used comb, because now we have it like this. And now we see a bit more of like what we can use or not use. And you see it's already forming a bit more of the spike thing that we want. So we obviously have it here, still way too long. So what we do, you know, the hairdresser thing, we hold it like this. I'm trying to hold this so you guys can see it. And then we cut a little in like this. We're like, oh, this one needs to be cut different, so we cut in like this. If you need to shorten anything, you go in like this. There you go. Voila. So, per se, that's already a lot better. Like spike-wise, it would work. Nope. We're gonna spike away around this. Maybe because my wigs. Yes. Oh my god. The big thing now is we're gonna use what I use. My lovely. I'm gonna have to do some change of thing. I'm also not deorganized on my table, because usually I do the crimping and then I clean the crimping stuff up and then I do the thing. So we now have this lovely thing coming up, which is the steamer, and we're gonna heat it up for a little bit. While it does so, I'm gonna go over these spikes real quick, actually, while I have these ones here. You can see there's also, we're gonna also go over how you can do spike endings. So these tips are quite fluffy because the client specifically was like, hey, you know, if you cannot make the spikes fully glued shut, so I didn't do that, but you can do it. You can see as well here, if you look from the bottom, you can see underneath it. But I don't assume the client is, you know, has just white underneath. And also, if you look from it at a normal angle, it's fine. If you look from underneath, you can see where the spikes are happening. I'm gonna also talk about how we can do these kind of endings and spikes. You see, they're nice and clean and very easy. We're gonna go over this. In general, this is how the spikes look like. You can also see here how much wefts there is. Like if you go in, that's about this amount. So we currently working here with half what we usually do. But if you want a really nice puffy spike, this is what you have to expect. Like how much you will have to use. These are a bit thinner, so we're gonna work with this kind of spiking we do currently. Also, I'm aware the wig looks a bit weird on this. This is because this is the wig head where it's gonna be sent off. It's too small for the wig, which is why the wig looks so giant on it. But yeah, we're also gonna talk about how we get these kind of like spikes down here, and how, you know, they're like little, how do I say this? They're very stable. There you go. Like, They're not going to be easily messed up, and if so, they're easily enough to fix that even, say, a beginner can fix them. Are you warm now? Yes, you're warm. Lovely. There we go. On. You can see. Also, I'm wearing black, so you can see. All right. So, what I do is basically, just really see how I do this now without heating the phone up. All right. So, what I do is, I heat up the entire spike usually first, and I kind of then put it into the direction I want to. I'm like, hey, I want it slightly up here. So there's 2 tricks you can do with this. Number 1, if you're very bad with heat, use these very cheap clamps. Do it like this. You can hold the spike. What you can also do, if you have chopsticks at home, you can do it with chopsticks. They're really good. Or what I do is I literally do this. I literally hold it on and do it like this. There we go. A little spike, and then we do a little twisting thing. So you can see now there's a lot of hair over here that is too long currently. I do not care about that hair too much, so I'm just gonna chop it off a little bit. But you know, there you go. We have a little spike. So you've seen so far yet, I've still not used any hairspray. That's a steamed phone. Sounds like a great meal. Choo-choo. Right. So what I do now is, now I have like the shape of the spike that I want. Now I use hairspray, and I will show you how much I use. That's it. I don't use much more. And now I go in again and heat it up again, and I just keep heating it the same. The reason why I heat it up is because the hairspray works very well with heat together, and I, spike it in that way. So we also have now these flyaways, which is why I said that, this kind of comb can come into handy. Because you're like, oh, this is weird, I don't like this one. So you start brushing it out and down where you want it, and you start literally going into it, brushing where you need the spikes to be nice. And you do it like this. So then I use some more hairspray just on the tip to do this. You're gonna go over it later on with glue as well, but for now I'm just doing a little twist. There you go. Make it nice and neat. And this is basically a process I'm not going to go into right now too much, in the sense of I'm not going to do an entire spike, because to make a spike takes me a long time. Because I literally will be here with my toothbrush and my thing, and I will like fix it up like this. And then there will be a rogue hair, so I will go in and be like, no, fix them. We'll go fix them with needles, and that's how you get clean spikes. There are a lot of work in that sense. But yes, always afterwards, again, heat it up. And I mean, obviously with the hairspray, we're gonna stay in place. So this is what I mean. I don't have really too much feeling in my hands, so I can really easily do that like that. But yeah, we now have a spike here holding. See? So what I will recommend whenever you do spikes, for the top ones, they're fine like this. They will hold. That's alright. If you have these kind of spikes on the top of your head, that's perfectly fine. However, and now the big thing, if you have on the bottom row, you have spikes, especially around your neck area, where you have maybe spikes around your ear, you maybe style them like this. You're gonna move your head, so there's gonna be a lot of friction on the spike. So if you do this, that's not gonna hold. What I do is basically a little trick that's very neat to do. It's very easy as well. I have it here, my lovely little. Oh, look at that! I have fucked up a brush again. That's great. You are done, I think. You're done, so. Let's see, maybe I can save you. Doesn't really matter. I also go through a lot of brushes, by the way, because I forget that there's glue in them. But basically, so let's hairspray more time. Yes. What I do is basically, that's also a reason why I like this glue, because I can just it pops out. I can just reuse my little bad things. So I have 2 of these. The reason why I have this into this is because I will use the small one to mix in. That's where I put some water in and some glue, and I will keep the mixing thing on the side in case I have to remix, or I can just do it next to it. That's just a personal thing I do. Don't know if it's weird, but basically what you do is I'm going to use a little glue. But I don't need much of it right now, like a little drop, and the tiniest amount of water, because I don't need using this one right now, because sweet. And we're using a little bit of the glue and the water, and that's the reason why I like the Yoo-hoo glue, because this one is water soluble. The other one that I have, the craft glue, is great, but it will make this very weird paste that is filled with water, but not really, so it doesn't dissolve in water, basically. It's a very weird texture thing, so we're not doing that. So we have a little bit of this right now. We're mixing a bit of the water and the glue, and we do a little bit here. So we're gonna go a little bit here, and we do little droplets here. Can I do this the other side? Let's see that better. There we go. So, and you can see I don't use much. I literally use a tiny bit on here. So what I do is mainly for the neck ones. Number one, what I do is I glue shut the spikes itself. Then what you can also do, which I'm not going to do here right now, but you can take, well, if you don't fuck up your brushes, you use a brush. You dip it in and you very gently go over this, like this. You very gently glue everything in place, and then you hold it, and that's literally just diluted with water. But you need to dilute it with water because this is too thick. It's gonna make it shiny again. With the water, you're not gonna see anything. I use this for, I'm gonna grab a wig where I actually did use it, so you can see it. Oh, can I grab you? Are you too far away? I think I can. There we go. We're going into this little thing here. The bottom spikes here are completely stiff glued down. Like there's you can see everything moves here. The entire bottom row here is completely set in glue. So this doesn't move. Like these are a lot softer. You can see here. It's one big thing. Like this is how sturdy these spikes are. I'm just moving the spike, nothing else. The top ones are softer. These are easier to move as well, but these ones here will move the entire thing because all of this is like a bit better glued. I'll put you down again, so I'll send you. No, and I cannot put you down there because you have long side bits, so I need to put you on the shelf again. Jesus Christ. I need to also send this. I have to send a bunch of orders out in the next days. There's a bunch of orders done at the moment. Alright, anyway, what else do we have? That's right, my time. Rip brush, yes, very, very sad times. But yes. So that's basically how I do, you know, a very nice holding spike. So the important thing now is, if you can't feel it obviously right now, but can you feel? I'm so used to doing workshops in person. I give them around so people can touch them actually. This spike is still a little bit warm and it is a little bit wet. So what I will do, and that's why wig styling takes time. I will now leave the room and let this completely cool down overnight. Literally let it cool down for a few hours. The same with like crimping. What I personally recommend is crimp one day and let it cool down overnight. Just the fibers completely cool down. It's gonna help a lot to do that kind of things. So yeah, and then you go on and go on. But we have some more tricks. So this is obviously how you do a spike. But the question is, when you have a lot of wig hair in the back, how do you know where to put what spike? Right? That's a good question. So what I do, and this is why I say these tiny like little hair ties are a very, very nice thing to have. I will literally section off, be like, alright, we have a spike here. So obviously now the next one will be here next to it, and the spike went until hair's down here. So I section off the exact same, you know, bit. I'm like, hey, I want to have this spike right here. Why not just do this so you can actually see this? I will also send a picture in chat in a moment so you guys can see what I mean. So we do it like this, and now we realize, oh, if we also now do the troubles, if we do spike here as well, you see there's going to be a hole. So obviously this spike underneath will have to be right here. Make sense? So we have the right things. So I'm gonna real quick send a picture in chat of how my spike process actually looks like. Oh, I did not save it, did I? Did I somewhat? Oh no, that's the wrong one. That's the finished. Eek, I am so sorry. That one's not clean enough to show. I thought I had it saved in the front. Where are you? I put it in the folder so I would find it, and now I don't know where I put the folder of my pictures. Ah, terrible. promise I'm organized and I know exactly what I'm doing. It's also weird to scroll like this. There we go. Where is this? It's not a picture, but it's a little video. There you go. It should be in the chat now. Is it? Did it work? There you go. If you look on the video, this is how the Y wig was sectioned off. So this is literally, I crimped the entire thing, and then I sectioned everything off like this. So, question if anyone is styling braids to hold their shape. Yes. Braids, make sure to crimp them before. Crimping will make sure that the braids in general hold better together, which is one thing. It depends. It's a similar technique as well. You can do like once the braids are like neat and clean and done, put the hairspray on it and like heat them in shape, because it's plastic. You can force it into that braid shape and do that. There's another method, depending on if you talk about jinx braids, the very long ones. There's people who stitch mesh around it, which is a very tedious thing to do, but if you have long braids, a very, very nice thing to do. This one was so helpful to see for spiking other wigs. Remembering that one Muppet smart enough things. But yeah, it's in general, it's always like, plastic heat and stuff, but for jinx wig, if in general long wigs, if it's a long braid, the braids thing would be very nice. And what I did actually for Tylee, she's a very, very long braid in the back, I redid the braid every time. I rebraided it before every convention, before every shoot. That's just how it is, per se. But yes, the mesh is a very, very helpful thing to do. We're gonna go into some other things right now. Because we have the spikes covered, and we have, how to section the wig. We're not gonna do this the entire thing. When I say wig styling takes time, wig styling takes a lot of time. Like you see like these little things to be like, oh, I did this and I'm done. To give you a rundown, like the Y wig took me 2.5 days to style. Like I had to crimp everything first, that took me a few hours, and I let it completely cool down. The sectioning everything off, and then just I'm not even talking about the side cut, just the side bit alone took me 8 to 9 hours, probably longer. I don't really keep track of time that well because it's just a down start. But to make spikes like these takes time. A lot of time to do. Another thing, what I would not recommend, if I have hairspray on here right now, at this point I go in with a steamer or a hairdryer. I do not go in with this. You right now have hairspray on here. If you do this like this, it's gonna get very flat. It's probably gonna hold, but it's extreme, like you get this very thin flat thing, which is, I guess, if you want to do Final Fantasy, it could work. But still, maybe let's not do that. 2.5 normal days so far. 2.5 focus days. That's a good point. I have a little bit of ADHD, as you maybe realized already while me talking. So when I sit down, I will sit down and I will work on it. If I say I have a wig style day, I will hyper focus on it for like between 8 to 10 hours, and I will just work through. I literally have my partner coming and be like, hey, food, or hey, did you have water? They bring me food and water because I just forget it exists. It gets this bad that I actually, if you tend to work like that as well, I actually can recommend that. I have alarms on my phone to remind me to get water and food. Like I have daily alarms that go off when I work. I put them on. Yeah, so to function better, alarms are a very good thing to do. And water is a very good amount. I know, right? Water is great. That's the one thing I'm very grateful. I do drink a lot, so I don't really need to have alarms for the water, because that's the one thing I actually get up for. It's more difficult when you have, or it's especially difficult when you have one of the masks on while I work, because I usually don't work like this with the wigs, to then remind myself to get water. I also have the alarms on, so I take a break, so I go out of the room, drink something, walk around a bit, because I will sit here like this for hours, and that's very bad for your back and neck. So make sure to have a nice area where you can sit, a nice height. Yes. 2-water bottle, 2-liter water bottle helps. I assume it does. I can recommend the alarms. Absolutely. I got the guys play mad alarm for disturbing me. No, that's completely fair. But the thing is, I realized as much as I get annoyed with it, it is in the end good for me to do breaks because we're humans and it's not a healthy thing to do. But yes, I want to go into a coloring a little bit. So as you can see, you probably saw this wig. I'm going to just open these a little bit right now. I'm going to ignore the spike on the bottom. This wig has different colors in, as you can tell. So this wig did not come like this. This wig came very boring with a completely blonde thing. So these ends I dyed in by myself. Because I wanted can single spike on there. Because I wanted a character that had dyed ends in. So yeah. This wig also was completely straight, by the way. It is not anymore because I did a very messy curl job. So I was like, I wanted to be like, you know, it's not really straight, but where's the spike? It's still down there. It's holding up well. It's doing great. But yeah. So there's different methods of dyeing. I'm gonna see. Can I? Oh my god. I don't think I can brush the spike out right now, but we're gonna go into, I guess you can see that? Yes, you can see that done quite well. So, there's different ways of doing this. So, I'm gonna just section this one on for a second. I do want to start by getting a glove that I have usually in the kitchen. I have, you know these like one-timey gloves that you can throw away afterwards? Yes. They're a very, very good thing to have. I don't think I have them here right now, actually. I sometimes have some on the side, but I think I just used them up. Oh, I'm gonna use them without for now. Use a glove like one of these one-time throwaway gloves. They're actually very, very helpful. And then what I use to dye wigs, we're gonna go number 1. These are very good. These are alcoholic markers. I have a lot of these in like very base colors, as you can tell. And I'm pretty sure the one I have here is it the orange one? Are you the orange one? You're not. You're the mix between those two, I think. Alright, so what I do then is I have these lovely, lovely markers. Again, I have them on purpose alcohol-based. And I do this usually if I have spikes. The reason alcohol-based because we want to do spikes where, you know, maybe the color is still in. We do this. But I'm gonna go over when you have more natural style first. You take the hair, and these are very fun. You literally you grab it and then you just draw it in. So I'm pulling up from like the top down. I take section of section, and I go more on the thing and occasionally go up to give it this nice little gradient. What I did for this one specifically as well, because I wanted it to have a nice gradient, I also took the orange and went in a little bit higher up, so I had a little bit of this, you know, very nice gradient looking thing. Let it dry because it needs to dry a little bit. The nice thing with alcohol markers is that when you brush them out, they look very, very nice and very natural. It looks like the wig came like this. Again, if you let them dry overnight, the wig hair would just look like this and it's not going to change color, which is great. When I'm in the office, I have Papa's reminding me to drink. Yeah, dude, that's great. And tips for wig headaches. Did not plan on going over this, but I can show you guys how I put on wigs, which is a lot of things actually. We'll go into this. Which this is great if you have a natural kind of wig to do that kind of stuff. There's also apparently a way to dilute acrylic color and stuff to dye wigs. I've never tried this. Not my style. Don't think it looks nice. I still think it looks chunky. But there's just so you guys are aware there is a way to do that as well. We now go, because this was a natural wig, we have here obviously the spike that we styled. This is the spike that we styled before. Does this work for this as well? Well, medium. That's why, you know, for this kind of, I'm like, oh, I want the ends to be different here. You see, I will now, when I try to do this, it will fuck up my spike. So, you know, because obviously you go in with an alcoholic base marker, not the best method for this, obviously. So, however, if you want to do the base, you can very easily, but not tips for this. Right, so we realize that doesn't work. Chalk clearly doesn't work either at this point, or eyeshadow. Chalk doesn't work because obviously that means also you have to like rub it in. Why I specifically, oh my god, why is Why is my wig thing on top of this? So, why I say chalk? So I have this lovely thing with a lot of chalk colors, which is very great. It's very helpful. What I mean by chalk is like, I mean, these lovely things. These lovely things. They're just normal chalk. I don't use, and the reason why I say I use them for wigs is I don't use them per se for wigs, but I use them if I use fur in wigs, or if I have, which I actually do have, and I can actually show you, is I used it for my husk as well. I'm so sorry, I'm just trying to put stuff up where I got it. I did it for my husk. I did it in the sense of that the ears I got for my husk, they're not bad at all. I got them commissioned by friends, they're lovely. However, you can see they were like completely light gray. These very light gray. I like, however, the wig that I use for husk is black. So I used chalk and I literally dyed the ends of it, just like blended in a bit, especially in the front. You can see it gives this little gradient thing, which is quite great, quite helpful. You can also see this is a completely glued hairline in the front here, for example. But yeah, there's a little like trick of when you have like ears and you want them to blend in. I now also have a commission where I actually have to use ears in, and I specifically told my ear person to use a pastel color that matches actually the lighter, like purple colors that we can work on. Actually, it actually is pretty much, if I have the ears, it's pretty much this color. But the wig base color is this one. But darkening down is easier than lightening up. So that's just a little thing. The ears are perfect. Thank you. Oh, I appreciate tips for husk wigs. The way I forgot about I mentioned husk. But yes, basically for husk there's two options. I actually have to make a husk wig that looks very natural right now with like a widow's peak with the lace front, and that was a completely glued hairline because I think it looks, my makeup is very cartoony for husk and I don't think a natural hairline would work with that. So I on purpose made a very pointy, very clear hairline because I wanted it to look cartoony. It always depends on the style you want to go for, obviously. You know, there's no wrong or right way per se to style a wig. There's some wrong or right way when it comes to safety, but if you want to have a lot of tiny straight spikes, you do so. I had to do so, for example, for Grell. My Grell cosplay is I despise that wig with a passion. The wig is accurate. Like there wasn't. I went for the competition. They really loved the wig. It was great. But my issue with that wig was that if you look at Black Butler at the style, or I think Jujutsu Kaisen is a very good option for it as well. They have these very weird long spikes. You know, make it fit you so you like it. If you want to be like, hey, I want to make it more natural. The spikes like this are ugly. I'm going to make it different. Please do so. You can absolutely, you know, make it work for you. Obviously, if you go, it depends on what you go for. If you go for a contest and you have to be accurate, you will make it accurate. That means that you will make these long ugly spikes and make them work. I got away with it a little bit in the sense of I used a lot of different color wefts. I did a lot of shading, and I let the bottom completely open flow. And I was like, for reasons, I was like, if I make them also so the way they're supposed to look, it's not gonna look nice on stage. And they loved that thinking process. So, you know, again, do some planning before you start styling a wig. It's very simple. I have to go, but I'll definitely be asking you after. Please do. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. Also, I don't know how late it is for you guys. I'm gonna check. See, we're soon getting done. I don't plan on going over, so we should be done in like 20 minutes. So you guys have a little heads up on that. As for airbrushing, there's a few tips I have. You have, when you get an airbrush, different options of doing so. Maybe if you already do airbrush, you have something similar. You have a diluter and you have these colors, where you can mix the colors with the diluting liquid. You know, that's the thing. I'd say less helpful, because the trouble is with wigs, they need a lot of pigment. If you have a lot of dilution thing, it's gonna gray the wigs down very, very strangely. Yes, I forgot to use that planet. I used to wire to right around. Ooh. Can't pick me up. No, there's the airbrush colors. They're not acrylic colors. What I do recommend specifically are the Vallejo brand. That is, you can have pre-colored ones. These ones are really, really great for wigs. I splurged on Black Friday and got a lot of colors. But basically what I had before is I had the base colors and I mixed them. So if I needed, green, I used obviously like blue and would mix the green that I needed. I now have separate ones which is green. But the reason I use these ones is because they're very, very pigmented and they're very, very good for airbrushing wigs. Because again, it's gonna be now now grabbing this lovely wig where I need to make sure that the front is a bit nicer holding. But if we go on this one, it's very, very subtle. There's a lot of airbrushing, and you can actually see it if I do it in the light slightly. You can see there's the airbrush like around here, around the spikes area. I darkened the areas here, and I slightly lightened the top bits areas here up with like a bit of airbrushing, which is great. Because it gives your spike a lot more depth, and you can see here the blue here is airbrushed here. It's very subtle. It doesn't look like it's airbrushed that much, but with a little bit of color, you can give your wig a lot more depth. And instead of an airbrush, you can also use eyeshadow and like just dab it on. Again, put a tiny bit of hairspray on, and disappears. And it stays. If you have the issue, if you use hairspray, you maybe had that before, especially on dark wigs, that you have like light specks on it. Or like, you put so much hairspray on, just like, maybe it's clumped in and it looks very disgusting. Use like a lot of like the 90% alcohol thing on a Q-tip, and you can just melt it away. You can do a lot with that. Winter Wig Wonderland, indeed. Time to say I can find in Taiwan. I see. The airbrushing so subtle. Thank you so much. But yeah, I like to very subtly airbrush across it. I'm gonna do a little. I think you guys have already seen it probably on the announcement thing, and one of the people in here actually had that wig commissioned. But I'm gonna real quick send in the Vi wig that I did to explain a bit of the shading that is in that one to go in, or like how I airbrushed that one exactly. So you can see if we go to the bottom picture, a little to the bottom photos, you can see that there's like different colors of airbrush in. So we have one that is a bit more reddish on the top, kind of, and then we have a purple that goes underneath to give it a bit of like depth. I also used a very dark purple on the roots of the undercut to make it fit a bit nicer and to blend it into the other hair a bit nicer. So that's, just make it. Ooh. Anyways, there Can you iPhone was not having that. It was like, excuse me, I'm not made for this. So here we are. You can hear you. Oh dear. That's alright. Got the input phone over here, yes. Alright, so I'm still here. But it's fine, we did a lot of show and tell, so we're pretty much through with that. So do you guys have any questions? Because now you can hear a bit off sync. Alright. Well, that's fine, I think. As long as you guys can hear me properly. The headphones, yes. It is a cat. It is indeed a cat. There's also a cat in the back there. We know that one. But yes, so do you guys have any questions for wigs? I know one question was how I put on a wig. I can go over that in a sec. Because it's kind of like wig headaches, exactly. So there's some ways I used. I'm gonna grab some things real quick to show you. Alright, so you also realize I'm wearing very funky pants to do this. So, number one, when you put on a wig cap, stretch it out. Like this one is very new, you can tell it's very tight. I at least want my wig cap to be able to do this. So I will literally hold it here, stretch it out a bit. Number two, put some fold a tissue or toilet paper around this area here. And then put the wig cap on top of it. It's very, very nice to like relieve the tension here. Make sure that this wig band is not, burying itself into your head. And then there's a wig cap thingy. Some people use silicone ones. I don't like it. I will send you a link. Band. Well, I love that the first link that came up is from Temu. but I will. It is a really good picture, actually. I'm gonna. Can I copy the picture? And I just want the picture, nothing else, please. Copy image. There we go. So I will send you in a picture. Specific. There's different ones. I personally like these ones. They come in different colors. Mine is like very pale because I have very, very light skin, obviously. These are very, very nice because as you can see the front thing. So if you have like a lace a little bit, that's like this. They're very, very helpful. And I have the wig on that one, which is for two reasons. Number one, I can slightly loosen how tight the wig is, which is very, very helpful for these kind of things. And the wig is mainly on there, so this is a lot more comfortable for me personally. The second thing is if you get a wig headache, if it's, you know, a lot of times you have to tighten the wig in the back, obviously, to make it fit to your head a bit. What I do if I get a headache, I just completely loosen them. I sometimes completely just, you know, I don't even have the elastics in. I completely take them off, and I just use two bobby pins, one here and one here, to clip the wig back where I have to have it. That's about it. That's usually a very easy thing to do. So, like, to just relieve a little bit and drink plenty of water. That's a big thing. I also have a water bottle here because I'm mean. I want to ask if I do a very structured wig like Ida from Twisted Wonderland or Mel from Genshin, the fire hair, can you recommend technique I've seen? Oof. That is not a wig beginning. That's very, very difficult. Wait, Ida, is that the blue-haired one? I need to look at Twisted Wonderland. Which one is Ida? Ida, that's the fire. That's the Hades one, right? From Twisted. Yeah. So. Ooh, I see. Yeah. These would be completely structured wig. I never made actually a wig that is that long and has that amount of wig wefts on them. But basically what you do is you use wire and then you use tape around the wire. The reason why we do that is because it's very light. And it makes the wigs hollow, because if you would use just wig hair to do all of that, the wig would get extremely heavy. And technically, like the techniques you see, I think, did Doki Doki on Instagram share actually one of these? Yeah. And you can organize an in-depth wig workshop later. I think that may be more interesting for like the more hard style wigs, so we can go like do like a one-on-one session on those, because these are very specific questions, I think. I did, for example, for Tough, I had like the whole half helmet thing. That was a lot. I'm just like seeing if I actually can send also a picture in where I did the Tough thing for like that sense. Because I didn't do the wire thing there, funnily enough. I used a styrofoam half ball, but since I'm on my laptop, I actually have stuff here. Great. It's to do basically. So it's gonna be some pictures that look fine. So basically, what I did for Tough is I used this half ball thingy. Sprayed it black, and then I literally, do I have it here? I glued it on, and I literally basically did this around. After I've covered it, be like, hey, this is how I do it. So it looks very, like, the making of looks extremely weird, I'm not gonna lie. I wanted to do this, I realized it's not gonna look nice, so what I did then, because I was like, oh, these are too short of wig wefts, but that was the base idea. I just covered the entire thing, so I had a little, I don't know, a little weird bubble, I guess, half bubble, and I literally just hot glued that on. Just put hot glue around I put hot glue around the rim, and then I put some more hot glue around. Because, for example, for Tough, is what I did is, obviously the hot glue is not black. I then went in with the edding and painted an edding and with the airbrush, and I just like airbrushed it completely black where the hot glue was visible. And she has like a hairband that covers a lot, so I was like, it doesn't matter if it's not super clean. A bubble toupee. I like that wording. It's a very, very fun little thing to do. So, these wigs are very terrifying to do, but they're a lot of fun to do. Genuinely, just try. Also, trust the process, especially when you do these kind of hollow spikes. The gluing weft process is a lot more difficult than it looks like. It takes a lot more time than you think it does. Give it time to let the spikes dry. A lot of times when people start messing things up, it's because they're not patient. Another little thing is that I just want to say, which is very important to me. I started styling wigs around 3 years ago into like a more extreme area. I say like where I started doing a lot of more wigs. Make sure to be patient. Like your wigs are not gonna look immediately like nice and perfect. And I look back now, for example, specifically on the Ave wig. It's not a bad wig, but I now would style it very different actually, and I would probably be a lot cleaner than it was then. Back then I was like, oh, it's great. And it's not a bad wig. It's just you will learn a lot. And you will learn which techniques work for you. Like I have a technique that works for me for how I glue things down. But I have a friend of mine who looks at this and is like, what on earth is that? That doesn't work whatsoever. So, it's always a good thing to, we need to get a lot of experience. Yeah, just, try and error. Don't be scared if it doesn't work right away. Another tip on my side is if you work with glue, black is the worst wig to work with because you will see like the glue is shiny, which on lighter wigs hides a lot. Black wigs a pain in the ass to do. So if you want to start gluing wigs, be better than me. Don't start on the black one. It can't be perfect in the first try, dang. Yeah, I know. But it's not even a thing. It's not gonna be perfect in the first try. It's not gonna be perfect in the second and the third. For me personally, I'm quite fast in learning new skills, and I'm quite usually good at it. But wigs took me a while to figure out and learn how the fibers work, and now it gets also difficult because depending on the wig you have, maybe the fibers react slightly different, which is why I do have my favorite chops to work with, because I know how these fibers work. There are some fibers, for example, and that's actually a casual wig is also sometimes guilty of that. The fibers, when you crimp them, change color a little bit. Not much, but enough. Like my childhood, when it came in, was bright orange, and I was worried because it was completely off-colored. I started crimping, and it dulled down a little bit, and I was like, it didn't just dull down. Like there's this different shade of orange now, and I'm like, huh. That is when the wigs are not properly dyed. That is not a new. That's on the manufacturer. Like you will not see any color going off anywhere, but it's basically evaporating sometimes. It's a very weird thing, but it can happen. So always do a tester on the back somewhere where you don't really see it. It's the same thing when you dye your own hair. Do it in the back a little bit. When you wanna dye wigs, you wanna have dye. I personally use rich dye. It's great. Make sure to get the synthetic dye. Otherwise, your wig is not gonna dye. And yeah, have fun getting better, learning a lot. And if you have any questions, I have a lovely slide that I'm gonna ask you to put up, which is like, thank you for your attention. And if you have any questions, now is the point to do so. But yes, I hope it was helpful, my yapping for 2 hours. Hold on. You've been amazing. Thank you so much. I'm really excited. I hope... Well, hello, Oscar. What are you doing, buddy? You joining me? Alright. Oscar has the best 2 hours. I'm glad. Hi, I've been here since the beginning. I don't know. It's my set Wynter. How do you set your wig? Can you tell me a specific brand? I set it with like what I just like. If I'm done, I just spray it with got2b hairspray, and then a bit of I just steam it a bit again, and then put some hairspray, and then I let it dry for a day and don't touch it. But yeah, basically all the material you've seen. I don't do anything else. Can you tell how do you style the hair of character who has only hair on one side if the other side is a cut? That's, I think, would be interesting for another workshop in the sense of like side cut wig, if that makes sense. There's a whole different thing. You can use your own side cut, or you can make a side cut with fur, or you can use the wigs. Some wig have freestyle. It's a whole. There's so many. I think that will go down in the more specific workshop to do. Make sure to have a lot of hair if you don't have enough hair on the one side, try and maybe cut the piece out and use fake fur. You know, put that one in. That's a huge thing. But yes. Also, don't be scared to experiment. You know, you want to put glitter in, do. If you want to dye stuff, do it. If you want to put extra hair clips in and make it shiny, or put a glitter. I've seen. My favorite thing is a Kokomi cosplayer who put a glitter spray on it. The entire wig was glittering, and it made me so happy. So don't be scared to be creative with it. It's a fun little thing. Cosplay is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be creative, and if it has to be completely accurate, it's sometimes a bit boring. So be fun to have fun with your little what's it called styles and stuff. I learned a lot. Thank you so much. Been very helpful. Oh, thank you. Thank you for your time and effort. Of course, it's been really helpful. Thank you so much. I've learned a few more techniques. I've been a bit skittish of trying. I can breathe. Thank you so much for taking time to share. Of course. Also, I didn't share this one, but if you wanna do curls, and you don't have the little curl thingies that I showed you, you can also use a toilet paper roll, or like not toilet paper, but like the kitchen paper rolls. Put the hair around there. They sometimes will get a bit buffy after time, but you can use different things. Yeah, I've styled entire wigs with toilet paper. Just curl the wig around, like hairspray, curl the wig around, heat it up, and let it cool down around the toilet paper roll. PVC pipe. Should not be able to work with heat down here. Yeah. They just the reason I said like the foam rolls is because you can pin them. It's very nice to work with them. But in general, yeah. Or reuse aluminium foil. There you go. There's a lot of ways to do like a lot of things, and I think if anyone else has good tips to do things like these, please share them with each other. It's a good thing. Like the chopsticks one, I actually saw on TikTok and I tried out and was like, this is great. If I've been working with heat for a while and I can tell my fingers can't take the heat as well, I start using chopsticks and it works great. So don't be scared to like share little things like that. But yeah, I hope it's helpful. I hope you are a bit less scared of styling wigs now. If there's any questions, feel free to send me a message on Instagram. My friends know I'm not always the best in replying. I reply, but it a lot of times takes a little bit of time to do so. Or I genuinely haven't seen the message. There are days sometimes where I get bombarded. I will try to get to them. But if you have any questions from the workshop, please feel free to send them. I do have a thingy where you can only send one message, so make sure to not just write hi, because I'm not going to reply to that. Please write, just be like, hey, I'm from the workshop. This is my question. And then I can maybe get back to you directly. Yes. And you got a cosplay and chopstick. That was wonderful. Thank you. All right. I hope it was helpful, though a bit chaotic. I've never done a workshop. Yeah, I've never done a workshop over a call, so this is very interesting for me as well. But thank you for having me. I'm so excited I met you. Ah, I missed the South African accent. It was great. Ah, but we love you. I'm sending my stuff back. But yeah, if there's a specific question and you think I can answer, like, feel free to ping. And also, like, for you guys, maybe you think, oh, I'm not that good in doing a workshop. Maybe you have a skill. You can, even if it's just a workshop on like, hey, how to sew on beads. Like, a lot of times people don't know these kind of things. If there's a skill you think you have that you are comfortable in, there's always skills that other people don't have. So it's always good in sharing. And you see, I just did some yapping, and there was a workshop. It's great. Well, it's always fun. I have had different workshop experience. My favorite one was where I was promised I get wig heads and wigs to work with, so people can actually try stuff out. There were 5 wigs in total in that, and there were like 40 people in that room. So it was supposed to be a hands-on workshop. I had to improvise that entire thing. All right. I'm gonna hop off in that case, because I have in fact done a wig headache, but I have in general a headache. So I'm gonna hop off and go have some more water and some sleep, because it's already 9. So I think for you guys it's 10, or maybe later. I don't know. I suppose I don't know where everyone is from. So yes, please drink some water. It is good for you. If you want it more exciting than water, you can have sparkling water. I'm gonna hop off. Thank you so much. No worries. I'll see you guys around. I think I'll let Neo do the rest. So have a good evening, you guys, and bye-bye.